Hey everybody, my name is Tim Ryan. I'm the Director of Marketing at Teslio, and we're so glad to have you join us today to talk about instrumented testing. And we're kind of excited about this topic. It's a new feature for Teslio, part of our recent release. And we're going to talk today about how leading app development teams are using application instrumentation to capture testing data that's oftentimes needed to really help isolate issues and try to resolve them faster. And so before I introduce your panel today, I thought I'd take a moment. Oop, tricked you. So here we go. There's the panel, but I'm going to ask you first to take a look at the bottom of your Zoom screen here. And there's a little Q&A section. If you would, we'd love it if you asked us some questions. We've got about 30 minutes for this conversation, and then we've set aside 15 minutes for Q&A at the end. So please drop your questions in there. In fact, I'm going to take a gamble here because I haven't gotten the budget approval for this, but I think we can afford to give a free t-shirt to a random person in that Q&A section. So please ask us questions. We'll answer them at the end of the session. And so now I'll go ahead and introduce the panel. Today with us, ladies and gentlemen, out of Florida, United States of America, is Summer Weisberg. She is Teslio's head of services, and she's going to be actually moderating today's panel. All the way from Estonia, which if you don't know is just south of Finland and just west of Russia, is Rudolf Elbrecht. He's the testing director at Teslio, and Rudolf's going to share the point of view of a tester and of a client, basically, and some insights on instrumented testing from that point of view. And then also from Estonia is Kauri Kont-Konstan. He's an engineering manager at Teslio, and Kauri's going to share insights from the point of view of engineering leadership. And I think that's it. Again, ask questions. We'll do our best to answer them at the end. If we can't, we'll follow up and answer them that way. And so Summer, I'm going to hand it off to you.
Thanks, Tim. Thank you all for joining us today. So before we jump in to ask Rudolf and Kari questions, I'm wondering if I might offer some perspective on why bug reproduction is a pain point, and how that we will move from Teslio's instrumented testing combined with our services team and a network of freelance testers to help solve this. So first, one of the benefits of network testing is having tests performed on real-world devices, whether Android or iOS. The permutations of devices and operating systems is always growing. So while it gives our clients robust access to all these devices and instills confidence in their software following a test run, it does complicate bug reproduction, troubleshooting, and issue resolution. So imagine a client being told a bug was found on an iPhone 8 running iOS 14, yet they don't have access to that device to reproduce the problem, or worse yet, they failed to reproduce it. That makes troubleshooting, discovering root cause, and most importantly, fixing the problem almost impossible. They simply don't have anywhere to start investigation. They don't have insights into the exact steps a tester took to reproduce or to produce the problem. They don't have any logs that show exactly what was happening with memory or network or storage. And then to make the situation worse, we've now spent precious engineering time trying to troubleshoot instead of building new features. So with instrumenting testing, this becomes a non-issue because that data is provided right along with the issue details directly in Teslio's platform. So I'd like to move to some more detailed questions with our testing expert, Rudolf, and of course, our engineering manager, Kari. So Rudolf, how do you explain instrumented testing to our clients, and how does it work?
Our instrumentation takes insights about testing to a whole new level. We provide an SDK, which with minimal effort can be plugged into your pre-production application. As the result, you get a whole new insight to the whole testing session data. All interactions made with the application, all taps, all clicks, all device interactions, device parameters like CPU usage, memory consumption, as Summer also mentioned, and also exact network and application logs, and much more are available with a few clicks from our platform. But it's not just about data. It's about the fact that we connect that data to the exact tests that were executed. Additionally, this plugin allows seamless bug reporting directly from the device, so that the tester does not need to spend additional time on log capturing. This is all provided automatically and captured automatically, so it's much more efficient. And from the stakeholders' point of view, who is reviewing bug reports and also reviewing, for instance, testing session test reports, it simplifies the debugging. It simplifies understanding of what was covered, and thus it saves time on fixing efforts. In addition, thanks to the fact that we cover all, that we gather all this testing data across different testing sessions, across different application versions, so on and so forth, we can build much more insights. We can compare, for instance, memory consumption from one version to another. True, this alternative solutions also provide a similar functionality, but we take it a step further. We connect that particular data to the tests, as I mentioned, and this unlocks the whole new picture. So let's imagine just a situation where we know that the memory consumption increases from one version to another. Sure, other tools also show that, but we can exactly see which tests are actually triggering this memory increase, and this is much more efficient. And as I mentioned, we capture all the interactions that we make within the application. So this unlocks actually future scriptless automation capabilities as well.
Thanks, Rudolf. So Kari, Rudolf kind of teased there a little bit that there are certainly other instrumentation solutions out there. So I'm wondering, from an engineering manager standpoint, have you done some comparisons, and what do you find the differences are, the data captured and how it all works?
Mm-hmm. Of course. So as kind of Rudolf a little bit explained, so we do performance monitoring. So we capture what the device is doing when the tester is, for example, testing the application. As in addition, we provide bug reporting capabilities throughout from the SDK. So there are separate tools on the market which provide one or the another. So very good tools for performance monitoring, very good tools for bug reporting, but none of them, what is already available on the market, is combining performance monitoring, bug reporting, and actually connecting all that with the testing. So I feel like this is the uniqueness what we have, and that's the kind of the main point, I would say. And how it compares, like the level of the data, for example, captured compared to other tools, I wouldn't say from the performance monitoring point of view that there is anything too much extra, but I would still point out that the main advantage is connecting testing, bug reporting, and performance in one place into our platform. And as Summer mentioned, that it is something which we provide as a complementary within the services what we offer to our clients.
Thanks. And then maybe we'll move over to a different perspective, Kari. Obviously you manage a team of engineers for us here at Teslio. So, from your perspective as an engineering leader, why do you care about this? How does it help your team, right, in a day of life of fixing their issues?
Yeah. So I guess for every team lead or manager, they want their engineers to work on building new stuff rather than actually fixing bugs. So my kind of concern is that the fixing bugs should be as painless as possible, which means that engineers need to have as much and as precise information available for them so that they could actually tackle the bugs as fast as possible. So that's from the engineering manager point of view, that if we are able to use a tool which I can trust and which guarantees my engineers to work faster on the bugs, of course I do that. I would like to use that tool. And maybe from the engineering single engineer point of view, it is similar thing. Engineers usually don't like to spend time on fixing bugs to understand what the hell is going on. Rather, they would like to understand, okay, what were the exact steps taken what happened within each of these user actions, swipes, user inputs. And because usually the problem for engineer is that somebody reports a bug and they say that happened, but that is usually, it is just the result. But what happened before, what the user actually did, so that the engineer could reproduce and try out exactly the same steps, this is actually where the value comes in. And as we kind of engineers, we always look for tools which give us insights. We try to find tools to monitor our application's performance, for example. So the same way I see as for an engineer, it is very useful to have like more in-depth insights. In addition, what I guess maybe wasn't mentioned, that we're like with a bug reporting, SDK is basically capturing screens. So it's making screenshots. And actually, if the tester is reporting a bug, then all these screenshots are already part of the bug report. All the system logs are part of the bug report, which means that tester does not need to do much, so that the engineer would be happy enough to have all that information. And they, like, in that sense, there is nothing extra tester needs to do to provide that information. So it comes all out of the box. And for the engineer to get always the data same way, it is always like, depending on the device, Android or iOS, we're always getting the same format. You know what to expect, you know how to read that event log, basically.
Makes sense. And what about effort to implement the SDK for our clients?
Yeah, we have tried with few, and like as always with any new package you add into your application, it's basically just few lines of code. Of course, you need to make sure that the versions you're using are all compatible, but in that sense, it's just a few lines of code.
Perfect. And we of course have documentation for all of that too for our clients.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you. So maybe switching a view a little bit to, what's it like for our testers, right? We've discussed a little bit of what it's like for our engineering side, but for our testers and even our clients as they're using or getting the benefits of the SDK. Maybe you can explain that, Rudolf.
Sure. I think I will already also give a sneak peek from the tester's perspective, but essentially it's really, really straightforward. There is pretty much no learning curve. Tester just needs to start a session on the instrumentation SDK UI, which is pretty much a small overlay button. And it's literally just a few clicks and start testing. Whenever a bug is encountered, report the bug option just needs to be chosen from the same SDK UI. And the whole issue reporting screen is opened up and the issue can be submitted. So all this regular data details that the tester usually would enter into the bug report, like title, all the environment description, everything, this can be entered. But as Kari mentioned, we have the screenshots already there. We have the device logs already there, network logs already there. Like there's so much more that is already automatically captured. And this is and this saves time. Of course, tester can still edit those attachments, remove them, add additional ones in addition, and even after submitting the issue, one can go onto our platform and edit it if there is any need for that. But nevertheless, you as a tester, you're testing, you're doing these interactions within the same context, and you can continue being in that particular context and continue testing. And this is pretty appealing to from the tester's point of view. It also unlocks a good use case or supports this use case better whenever we test in the wild, meaning literally when we as testers go out there and test, not in a home environment, but outdoors, depending on the application requirements, for instance. So there's always a challenge. Depending on the device, you might need to connect it to the computer to get the logs. And this can be pretty clumsy in the middle of a city. So this takes off that kind of necessity. So tester can be sure that logs are always there, logs are captured, can report the bug right there, right now, and carry on with testing. And I guess every tester knows the situation where one tries to reproduce an issue or just hits an issue which is hardly reproducible. and then discovers that, oh, logs were not running. So this, again, eliminates that possibility. So you have the logs, you have the interactions, you have there, so you have much better chance on reproducing the issue and providing all the necessary details that are there. And from the client's perspective, it's also, they know there's always the same format of logs, there's always the same data provided, so it's much more consistent experience, and the data is always there. Even if for sometimes, it depends, of course, on the projects where different kind of logs are required, but we always provide the full package, and it never hurts to have a bit more data than less if there is a need for doing any kind of additional troubleshooting. Yeah,
Thanks.
I think that's it.
Yeah, I think we would also hold for our clients that it's a more efficient process for them, right? So as we're testing, right, maybe we can do more tests because we've freed up time from some of that, like you said, grabbing the logs and having to upload them and whatnot. So
yeah, exactly.
As Tim mentioned, we are really wanting to hold time for some of your questions at the end. So I think we'll move on to that segment. So Tim, if you've been monitoring, do you have any questions for us?
I do. There's my video. One of the questions was, to Summer, there's a little Slack icon that keeps bouncing up and down at the bottom. You know what's great is there wasn't a single dog, kitty cat, llama, or kid interrupting today's webinar. So I would say already it's been very successful.
And the really crazy thing is I actually am one of those nutty people that slacked myself before this to make sure that didn't happen, yet here we are. So,
well,
real work.
I don't think anyone's going to lose sleep over it. So yes, we have some questions, and I did, before I go into those, I did want to point out on the screen now, you'll see, if you're interested in learning more about instrumented testing, if you're an existing customer, you can talk to your engagement manager. You could drop us a line at hi@testleo.com. And if you're interested in potentially becoming a Testleo customer, go ahead and click on page.testleo.com/demo. And we can give you a little more, we can give you a look under the hood of Testleo and answer some more questions. So here they come. Boy, are they flooding in now, these questions. Let's see what we have here. All right, so this is live. This is putting our panelists on the spot. So let's see how we do here, folks. And by the way, if we can't answer directly here, if we need to do a little more digging, we can follow up with everybody with answers to these questions. So here we go. First one, is there a minimum Android API level for the SDK?
Okay, I guess that goes to me. So right now for the Android, the minimum requirement actually is the Kotlin version. Kotlin version should be at least 1.4. So whatever Android version supports that, I guess that's currently the only requirement.
Okay. I think this is semi-related, and the question is, will the SDK slow down app performance?
So yes, that is a correct assumption. But what we did some testing, and what we found out was that actually the overhead for the CPU comes from 5 to 10%. So that's the overhead you will get. But the overhead in that sense will depend on how you have configured the SDK to behave. How frequently, for example, you want to take the screenshots. Do you want to compress the screenshots and all that different kind of things, or how frequently you want the SDK to transport data to our services. So that all depends, but based on the tests, 5 to 10%.
And Corey, I think we compared that to other solutions out there, and it's pretty much similar ballpark. So there's like no outstanding difference, let's say this way.
And maybe just to add that we still encourage that like SDK to be integrated anyway into the pre-production builds. So this is something for testing, not for production monitoring, I would say. Of course, if somebody wants to do that in production build, of course they can do, but I guess that's not maybe what we suggest.
Okay. Well, next question is, are there any plans to support Win32 applications? Windows 32?
So I would say maybe no, but I know that we're planning to have the same approach for the web. So right now it is mobile applications, iOS, Android, but we're planning to have the same thing for the web applications.
Okay. And Win32, I just said Windows 32. Is that way wrong?
Let it be.
Okay. Okay. Does the SDK support any third-party integrations, specifically for getting test data into bug tracking services like Jira, etc.?
Maybe I can answer that. So the SDK integrates with our platform, and also the advantage of our platform is that this integrates directly to other bug tracking services like Jira, as answered. So through our platform, yes, and we provide also the direct access to the instrumentation data, even for the bugs that get synced to the bug trackers as well. So from this perspective, short answer is yes. You get more capabilities, more overview, of course, from our platform.
And I guess if we would provide, like, from the SDK direct integration with external devices, then the problem would be that the connection with the tests, what the tester is actually doing on our platform, on our execution, most probably that would be lost in that sense. So we do that through our platform, basically.
Okay, great. Let's see. Does the SDK UI interface directly into our apps? So is the SDK built into their apps?
Mm-hmm. Yes, in that sense, I guess what Rudolf said in the beginning is that we will, like, if the SDK is integrated into the build, then we will provide a little overlay with a small Tesla logo, which you can click, and then it opens up the session part where you can start the session and trigger bug reporting. So I hope it answered.
Okay. Well, a continuation of that question I love, because I think this is aligned with our release prior to instrumented testing. I think it was 3.1, and it was around collective testing. I think this applies to that. So the question is, would I be able to take advantage of the SDK with my team members? Dogfooding.
Absolutely. So and this is the whole point. So we unlock the collective testing. So your internal team members can also come and run the same tests, do the same sessions, review the data, compare that data to the, for instance, with the test that testers ran. So it's all there. So the short answer again is yes. And it's actually unlocks a lot of possibilities for further data analysis on that behavior. So you have pretty much the whole holistic view, even from dog food versions up to last production releases that we still do pre-production tests on, for instance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I like to collective testing keeps it all into a single platform. I think it eliminates the need for some of our clients to use, I won't name names, but to use separate test management tools for their in-house testing, and then a tool like, or a service like Testlio for external testing. It brings it all into the same, under the same umbrella.
And this is all part of our service. So this is all part of our platform. There is no separate charges for any kind of additional test management modules or instrumentation modules or whatsoever. So this is the whole point. You can do everything there, and you can get all the insights there. And still, our platform integrates, if needed, to other solutions also.
Cool. Okay, we've got a few more. What's interesting is, even though we're there in the Q&A session, oftentimes people drop off. We still have everybody on the call right now. So this is engaging. Ooh, is the SDK developed by the Testlio team?
Yes, that is so.
Okay.
Nothing else to add.
Nothing else to add. Okay. And let's see what else we have here.
I see in the chat there someone also asked.
Okay, great. Let me go look at those. I've got the Q&A window open. Hello, guys. You want to answer that one? Anyone want to take that?
Hello.
No, can we turn the SDK monitoring on and off and then set the level of testing by user or device at runtime?
So no, this is something we don't allow right now. So everything you configure and then you put it into the basically while you install the SDK into your application, then you set all the configuration parameters and you can't change them during the runtime in that sense. But what you can control is that the session in that sense is not always running. So you can basically have a build which has SDK enabled or built in, but you don't have to force this data sending because the data sending only starts when you actually start the testing session inside the SDK.
Okay. The person that asked that question thought we were funny when we said, anyone want to answer? Hello, guys. So we're making them laugh, folks. Let's see what else we have here. What would you say is the one main problem that instrumented testing solves for mobile app developers?
Who wants to answer that?
I think you already answered already. So.
Yeah, I guess the main thing is that usually you had to have like different tools for different things. You had to have something specific for performance monitoring. Then you had to have something for bug reporting, and there was nothing which you would basically put all these two together with actual testing itself. So I would say that is this thing that you have the full testing session, which means that you can you have the context of one single session, because performance monitoring usually it loses the context very often, that you just see that, oh, this is the loading time, this is loading time, but you don't see the full session by one single user, and having more information for the engineers for the bug fixing in a form of event logs, network logs, and like automatically taking screenshots. I see that it's like something very useful, which will make engineers' life easier to solve different bugs.
All right, good deal. Here is another follow-up. So this, let's see. Could prefer user to enable data sending in case a bug is encountered. Oh, so can we turn it, can the user, a tester, I guess, turn it on and off to enable data?
So in that sense, in SDK, there are two modes. One is capturing the full session, which will basically, if you start the session, it will start sending you the data within the interval you have set in 5 seconds, in 3 seconds. But there is also a possibility where you can not start the session, but report a bug. And while you basically start reporting a bug, then there is always like this previous half a minute of logs always kind of held in the device, which are automatically put together into the bug report. So this means that, for example, you have a 3 hours of 3 hours testing session. Okay, it might be overkill, but anyway, you went to the woods, you needed to be on the live event and listen some concert and do stuff. So, and in that case, either you started the session, which means that all the data within that 3 hours will be sent to us, or if you did not start the session and at one point in the, let's say, already 2 hours into the concert, you found a bug and you want to report it, then we still have the last half of the minute of the event logs automatically captured, but not the whole 2 hours. So in that sense, you can a little bit control and play with that.
Cool. Let's see. I think we might have answered all the questions. Wait. We already answered the one about SDK slowing down app performance, right? And we answered that one. What problems? Okay, well, here's a silly one from someone. I think we have a comedian in the audience. They wanted to know what is our favorite type of food from your country? I'll answer first. I'm in New Orleans, and so for me, it's a shrimp po' boy, fully dressed. It's French bread with fried shrimp and some lettuce and mayonnaise and hot sauce. It's just so good. That's my answer.
I guess I could take Florida if I want to do something very Florida. I'm a key lime pie all the way kind of person.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
All the way into potato salad. So, yeah.
I would go into this. I don't know how much well, in Estonia, we have this thing, this plaat sausage, which I guess foreigners very often feel like, what the hell is that? They would never eat something like that. So I would choose that.
Awesome. Hey, we have one last coming in. So for everybody listening, the session was going to run for 30 minutes, and then we were going to do 15 Q&A. Well, we are so fast that we've managed to get through most of the Q&A in 30 minutes. And so if you want to stick around, there's one more question I see. We committed an extra 15 minutes, but we may end early. But how about I ask this last question, and if no one else has questions, we'll then officially call it. So here's the question. What happens to the SDK when the application being tested hangs? Does this affect the data that's being gathered so far? And then there's an additional question. I'll pause and ask that after.
Okay. So I guess it is for me. So if you start your testing session, then you can configure the SDK how often you want the data to be sent to us. So this means that if you have, as a previous example, 3 hours of testing, then actually you can configure that the SDK will send data within every 10 seconds. So basically, if the application hangs or crashes, then everything you were sending before is already sent in that sense. So you might, and actually we have handled the case also with a crash, that we will store the last 30 seconds in the memory. So once you start up your app again, then you actually are able to report the crash also. So in that sense, as we are collecting the data and the SDK is sending it constantly, you will not lose that data, even if the application crashes or hangs.
Cool.
And how long we capture?
Yeah, how long can we capture data for a single scenario?
I think we have tested it with 3 or 4 hours. Someone had it running. So yeah.
In the mass test, yeah, it's 4 hours that we did the full test.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then the question is it time or memory dependent?
So in that sense, as we said before, only overhead it adds is the CPU, which is 5 to 10%. But as I said before, we are constantly sending the data to us. So in that sense, it's like the memory fingerprint or something is not increasing if you're doing the 4 hours of testing. Otherwise, it wouldn't make sense that you basically, because your phone can run out of battery, and then you're losing all. So no, as we did it in a way that we're constantly sending, you can configure the frequency. So we are always getting the data, no matter what happens in the end with the device.
Okay. They keep coming in. So here we go. You mentioned Kotlin version being the Android API level restriction. Does that mean the SDK cannot be implemented into apps built on Java?
So right now we're supporting, we are in that sense supporting native, but Java. Okay, I will not answer to that, just in case. I will maybe say something what I don't know.
Yeah, and is it something we can investigate and follow?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, we'll do that. Let's see, Jeff. Observation can affect what's being observed. Are there any examples of where the SDK has caused an exception or another problem?
I would say not yet. Only in case we actually developed and needed to test it, then in some cases created something, but it did not affect the underlying application itself. So in that sense, I can't say, or I can't give any examples when it would have crashed or influenced the original or underlying application.
Okay. Let's see, Emmanuel, can I implement the SDK or only to Tesslio customers? So I think he's asking, is this something standalone that he could use without working through Tesslio?
So right now it is for Tesla customers, because the service is sending stuff into our platform, which means that in order to get access to our platform, you need to be our client. So yeah.
Okay, so Emmanuel, what that means is you basically just need to become a Tesslio customer and you have full access. How's that sound?
And you get the comedy show all the
You
time.
get the comedy show all the time. Okay, Jeff, here we go. Perhaps the Kotlin response answers this question, but does the SDK support iOS and Android apps created by Xamarin?
Good question. I will not start lying.
All right, so we'll follow up on that one too.
As I need to get the answer from the team.
Yeah. Cool. Let's see. I would like to try it at my end, but please involve on your testing. Okay. Let's see. I think that might be it, folks. I'm not seeing any other questions. We've gone through all of these. Really appreciate these questions. We've been challenged a couple of times. You know what we can do is summarize these questions with the answers and include that in the follow-up to everybody that registered with the recording of the video.